For decades, the United States and China were tied together by trade, yet that same connection helped create one of the world's biggest rivalries. After 1949, Communist China was largely cut off from the American economy, and the two countries stood on opposite sides of the Cold War. That began to change in the 1970s, when Washington reopened relations with Beijing to counter the Soviet Union and reshape global strategy. Trade expanded fast. American companies gained access to cheap labor, while China gained factories, investment, and a direct path into world markets. For American consumers, the effect was immediate. Lower prices on clothes, electronics, furniture, toys, and countless everyday household goods. Retailers loved it. Global supply chains slashed costs, boosted profits, and helped keep inflation lower than it might have been otherwise. But many American factory towns paid the price. Manufacturing jobs vanished, wages stagnated, and entire communities felt hollowed out. Meanwhile, China used export growth to transform itself into an industrial powerhouse, lifting millions from poverty and building enormous national wealth. The United States benefited from cheap imports and strong corporate earnings, but it also deepened dependence on Chinese production. Over time, more Americans began asking a harder question. Had trade made goods cheaper, but the country weaker? China was no longer just assembling products, it was climbing into advanced manufacturing, telecom, batteries, AI, and semiconductors. That shift changed everything. China stopped looking like a low-cost partner and started looking like a full-spectrum economic competitor. At the same time, military tensions grew in the Pacific, especially in disputed seas and around key shipping routes. Taiwan became a central pressure point because it sits at the crossroads of military strategy and the global semiconductor supply chain. Suddenly, trade was not just about prices, it was about chips, energy, rare earths, technology, and national security. That is why tariffs, export controls, and investment restrictions became major tools in the growing US-China confrontation. China, for its part, saw American pressure as an effort to contain its rise after decades of benefiting from Chinese growth. The United States responded by pushing industrial policy, reshoring, and domestic investment to rebuild strategic industries at home. Rivalry also spread beyond trade into cyber conflict, espionage fears, influence operations, and the race for technological dominance. Even so, neither side can fully walk away. Their economies remain deeply connected, even as trust keeps breaking down. That is the paradox. Trade brought them together, but success made each side more fearful of the other's power. For ordinary Americans, the rivalry now affects prices, jobs, inflation, supply chains, and the future of key industries. For China, the stakes are just as high: growth, stability, prestige, and the ambition to shape the next global order. So the US-China rivalry was not born despite trade. In many ways, it was born because trade changed the balance of power.